Welcome to the Vet Life Reimagined podcast, and welcome back to part 2 with Dr. Michael Bugg, a Canadian veterinarian who realized that when his wife gave him the nickname of Miserable Mike, it was time to make some changes. Based on his personal experiences and many conversations on his podcast called the Veterinary Project Podcast, Mike has just published his first book, which we will go into in the second half of the conversation. Make sure you listen to the part 1 if you haven't already, and thank you for being here. So let's get to the conversation with Dr. Bugg. So kind of going back to you and your career journey, when you stepped back and imagined your ideal day, what did that ideal day look like?
Yeah, for me, lifestyle is my main focus. I'm not chasing $1 billion, right? Like that's not my idea or definition of success. So it was time freedom, right? Like if I boil it down, the ability to do things when I wanted to do them, and then having a family, that might mean like I drop Riley off at daycare. I pick her up from daycare. I go to her swimming or gymnastics, lessons, right? That to me is success. And so I wanted to create a life where I get to control my calendar, right? And I can drop in the events and the places I want to go and the people I want to do that with. So that was my goal, was to start, creating income that didn't require me to like go and, punch a clock as a figure of speech there, and have that time freedom.
That probably put you on this journey of real estate and learning more about finances. Do you talk to veterinarians specifically about finances, or is this more of you're still kind of on a personal journey here?
I'm a little of both. I would say like I'm certainly, I love that. Like when we talk about the personal growth and the people connection, that's an area I love. Personal finances and investing is right side by side with that. And I think they blend together well. So I talk to a lot of veterinarians about it. I'm not an official, I don't coach. I have no investment certification, right? I'm not a financial planner. I'm just, a veterinarian that's taking kind of a unique path with their personal finances. And I love talking about it. We do bring it up on our podcast, sometimes. And I'm always careful because financial topics are so personal, right? And they're so complex and there's so much emotion involved, and everyone's situation is different. So there's not, a one size fits all solution. But what really fires me up is even just the conversations with veterinarians where the light bulb can maybe go on and they can realize, hey, I have choices available to me. Things that I maybe accepted as true, maybe they're not true. Like maybe there's another way, another path forward with my personal finances. And so I kind of love those like discovery sessions, I guess we would call them.
And I think something I've also noticed kind of along the way is how you seek out mentorship. And in fact, I think that was the episode today for your podcast, was around different types of mentorship. You talked about in vet school, if you had to change anything, you would have just networked more. When you talked about a personal coach that you had for years before you left practice. So you sought out a personal coach, and not very many people do that. So that's fantastic. And then I know you're still in mastermind groups around real estate and other things as well. So how has mentorship been a part of your career journey as well?
Oh, it's been massive. Like I honestly can't imagine my life without mentorship and without masterminds. I would say the biggest thing, or the first step with a mastermind, is it exposes you to what you don't know, right? We're all kind of, living in our world, and the edges of our world are just what we've been able to see and hear before. And if you don't intentionally pick yourself up and throw yourself into a new environment, where people are doing different things that you just weren't even on your radar before, then you don't even know they're possible. And so when I think about, the personal finance piece, my sort of box before was very much like, you can earn a paycheck. That's how you can earn income, right? And that's it. Like I honestly hadn't given any thought to all of the other ways you do it. And then you jump in masterminds and people start talking about like, well, I'm earning income this way and that way and this way. And you're like, wow, like the doors just open and you have this whole new area of thinking that you can explore. So I would say number one, it just shows you what's possible. And that's kind of the first step in increasing your desire towards wanting to do something, right? Like you first have to have an idea that it exists. Then once you're in that world with people that have actually already done whatever that thing is, they're going to leave clues, right? They're going to, this is how I got here. I did step A, B, C. And so you can kind of follow their journey along. And it's funny when you get in these worlds, people love helping. Like they really, really do. Like it's a common core like thing amongst humanity, I believe, right? Where they want to help. They see someone try to accomplish something and they love like lending a hand. Like, here, I will help you up. And so for me, it's twofold. I want to be in environments where, you know, I am the lowest person in that room. Whatever we're doing. If it's a health mastermind, I want to be the least healthy, so that they all pull me up, right? If it's a financial mastermind, I want to have the lowest net worth, so they all pull me up. And then on the flip side of it is you want to sort of do it for other people. So be in masterminds and groups where you're maybe the person helping others up. That has kind of been the role masterminds have played for me.
That's an interesting concept. And you actually said, I think you said something similar on the podcast about, I don't know if you said it just like this, but being the dumbest person in the room, right? So you're constantly the one that's kind of has the most to learn. We'll say it that way. And I don't think that is the largest mindset of people. Just that growth mindset is. And to me, I've learned to see it as exciting. The opportunity to learn something and do more. I love that you actually brought in you learn, there's also the opportunity to give back. And it sounds like that's a big part for you as well. Do you live that out through the podcast? Are there other ways that you have found to kind of share what you're learning?
Yeah, the podcast is certainly the biggest one. I do a quarterly, we call it a one sheet. And so you map out all the various gardens in your life. And one of those gardens is contribution. And for me, that's where the podcast currently lives. Like I truly view that as my form of giving back, right? And it's funny, like I say that, the person who gets the most out of the podcast is me, right? Like my intention truly is bring on all these wonderful guests, let them tell their story to whoever wants to tune in and listen. And then just in that process, I end up learning so much. So it is a funny thing. Like the more I'm trying to contribute, the more it's actually expanding me. But yeah, the podcast is my main one. I do help out, others in real estate investing unofficially, right? Like I don't do any sort of paid coaching or anything, but people in our local community that will reach out, you go for a coffee and you chat, or you walk through one of their real estate projects with them and give them some advice. But yeah, the podcast is a massive contribution piece.
Yeah. What are your goals with the podcast? What's kind of next for that for you guys?
Yeah, well, Jonathan and I are going to sit down here and kind of map out some 2023. We started this. We really want to bring a bunch of perspectives in veterinary medicine. So I know we would like to grow, beyond just Mike and Jonathan, like always having a finger on the episode, and bring in different people, that can help, whether that's co-hosting or hosting episodes, because we just want more perspectives. Like it's that awareness of like, I am really good in a few subject matters and I'm really bad in all of the other ones. And so let's bring on people that are better in those areas. And then, we have a lot of ideas around just becoming more than a podcast. To be honest, we really don't know what that means yet, as we kind of try to form more of a community with it. And then, Jonathan and I both have so many other things on the go. So trying to, balance that with all of our other veterinary roles and non-veterinary roles. But that would kind of be it. We're looking to expand it.
That's exciting.
At this point, I asked Mike what is one of the biggest things on his mind right now. And remember, we were recording this at the end of 2022. And so he goes into his book project, which is now available. So here is some behind the scenes about his brand new book.
And that's kind of an offshoot of the podcast. It's for the veterinary community. And it's something I've always wanted to do. I enjoy writing. Doesn't mean I'm excellent at it, but I've always wanted to take on that task of writing a book. And so we're finally there, and that will launch in early 2023. So that is one of the things I'm most excited about coming up.
Nice. So you said it's for the veterinary community. It was inspired by the podcast. Is it going to focus in on a particular topic? Is it broad? Give us a little hint about what it is.
A little teaser. So the title is "You're Gonna Get Peed On." So that, I guess, a spoiler alert on where that came from is there was a case in veterinary medicine, and this is back in the frame of miserable Mike, and it was just one of those days, and there was a cat that came in, and everyone knows this cat where it's just sitting there very politely, not doing anything, but you can tell that at a moment's notice, it will rip everyone to shreds. And this was that cat. And so he was on the exam table, and all of a sudden he decides now's the moment, now's the time to strike. And so he springs into action. I remember one of the techs caught him kind of flying through the air, and he spun around and he just pissed like all over me, like all over my face, in my mouth. And I think I had a syringe in my hand because we were going to be doing something with him. And I remember just standing there and being like, oh, like that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I was like, I am done. And so that's what inspired the title of the book. But more so, I mean, if you're a veterinarian, you're going to get peed on. Like, that's just what it is. Like we deal with all sorts of stuff. The subject matter is, I would say the first 2/3 of the book is all about the personal development skills that I've learned, through my 10 years in clinical practice. So it's not things that were taught in vet school when I went through. It's like it's dealing with the imposter syndrome and making decisions and dealing with, the identity labels we put on ourselves. So the first 2/3 is just as I worked through all of those challenges in my career, and then tactics that I learned, through my mentorship, through my masterminds, through my personal development to deal with them. The last third of the book is personal finance. So getting into, and it's not personal finance in the sense of a tactical playbook on personal finance. It's personal finance in terms of changing your context around how you think about it. So all of the limiting beliefs we tell ourselves about money, all of the money stories we have playing in our head, right? And I see that play out in the veterinary clinic so often. And one of my core beliefs, is if we can get veterinarians to improve their money mindset, we can improve, their whole life and improve them as veterinarians. One of the keys that to unlocking like that volume piece, I can hear listeners listening to this and saying, that's all well and good, but how am I supposed to work less when I need every dollar of this paycheck? Right. And that's real. Like, that's valid. I'm not discounting that. Like, we're all in different situations, but there is more than one way to come at that.
So you talked about changing money mindset, and you started to talk about that people say, I need every dollar of this paycheck. So if you had to describe like a before and after, what's the before? What's the mindset that you see that's really common in the veterinary industry that you would like from them to move from? So what's the before mindset?
Scarcity. In a word, I would say that would be the common theme I see in the vet clinic. So think about, I'm going back now, I'm putting myself in the vet clinic, and this would be a very common situation, at least for me in the vet clinics I worked at, is you have a case that was in for whatever. Let's say it was a blocked cat, and the bill is $1,000 or $1,200 or whatever that amount is. there's all these different layers that come with that case. So first of all, we're veterinarians, and our oath is to serve these animals, and protect them and keep them out of pain. And that is excellent. And the owner loves their cat and everyone wants a great outcome. Now we have to take a dollar amount and attach it to that. And it's like that, like, how do you do that? Like, how do we have a client here where it's like, do you love your cat $1,200 worth? Mm-hmm. Like, somehow that's like that conversation gets mixed in. So it's very emotional, and you can tell everyone just pulls back. Like, the clients weren't planning this $1,200 expense. The veterinarian or the tech or the receptionist or whoever's having that conversation, they have their own beliefs around what $1,200 means. The cat gets whisked off to the back. And then when they're checking out, at least this was me, it was always like, here's your cat, here's the discharge instructions, and I'm going to run away from the front as fast as I can before the receptionist rings this credit card through, because this is just a really uncomfortable situation for everyone, And it's like, that is the common, theme with money in the veterinary clinic. It's not positive, right? Mm-hmm. Like no one is like happy about spending the money, right? No one, it's all framed in this very negative, very heavy way. And I feel like as veterinarians, we carry that all over the place. So that was a strange example, but scarcity would be the one word to kind of sum it up.
Thank you. And thank you for putting the picture on it, because there is a lot of negativity when it comes to money, not just in the veterinary field. I think that's really common in general. It's like, I know I need money, but it's really scary if you don't have it. So yes, what is the place that I'm sure you were trying to bring yourself to, and that you would like to bring other people with you? What does the mindset look of the better future? What's a better money mindset?
Well, ideally abundance, right? And I mean, I would love to sit here and say, oh, I exist in this place of complete money abundance 100% of the time. That's not true. It ebbs and flows, right? And even though I am consciously always working on this, and I've dove into so many of my limiting beliefs around money, like money is emotional. And so I even pendulum back and forth where scarcity, abundance. And my goal is just keep trying to spend more time in abundance, right? I'm not so hard on myself that I think I will bat 1,000% and never experience that scarcity emotion, but abundance would be where I would like everyone to get to.
I think I was thinking about that term too, when you were talking even about back to the mastermind, where people love helping. The people that have the abundance mindset, whether in money, I think it spreads into other areas of your life as well. And vice versa. The people that you're finding in these masterminds, they're doing really well financially. And they're also doing really well in life too, probably because they are supporting other people with that abundance mindset. It's not like there is a limited pot of money, and it's like a fight for the coins in the pot. It is actually trying to understand that it just multiplies when you support each other. Yeah. Do you find that as well?
Oh, 1,000%. One of the big limiting beliefs that I had to sort of confront and tackle was that people that have money are bad people. But somewhere in my journey had heard and accepted and believed to be true. And I mean, it's understandable. Like, think of all the TV shows and movies you watch, right? Like, the antagonist is some rich person doing something bad. Like, that's just such a common theme. And you see it enough and you hear it enough and you start to believe it, and then you can layer more on there. Like, I don't deserve to have money, right? Like, if I make more money, what if I got rich? I would be a bad person then. And I don't want to be a bad person. Right. And so you've got to tackle all of that, like, limiting beliefs and emotions. And what I've found in the masterminds I'm a part of, and, when you get around people that are wealthy, that have lots and lots of money, there is a lot of them that are just excellent people. Right. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are assholes out there that are rich. That exists. That exists. But the vast majority that I experience are phenomenal people.
I think I once heard it said that money is just a tool, that if you're a good person and you make money, you can just spread the goodness. If you're a bad person with money, it's just, it's just more of what you already are.
I mean, the classic example is a lottery winner, and people will think I won the lottery to change everything. And when you follow lottery winners out long enough, they end up exactly where they were, because nothing really changed, right? They had all of the same money limiting beliefs and ideas with money and habits with money. They just temporarily had a lot of it. But eventually that just disappears and they're back to where they were. I went to a course, I think it was a whole weekend, and it was all about diving into like your money mindset and the story you tell yourself. And I think they called it your money mantra. And at the end of the weekend, the goal was to have a new one. And so at the end of that weekend, I came out, and my personal belief that I try to live through now is money magnifies my authentic impact. Right. And so even going back to our podcast, at this point in time, we have no sponsors. No one pays for it except for me and Jonathan. Right. I have extra money floating around. I put it into the podcast, and I'm hoping that magnifies my authentic impact. Right. And that's something you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have excess money.
Well, I am excited for this book because these are things we don't really talk about very much in veterinary medicine. And one of the things that you uniquely bring is that there's something special about a veterinarian talking to another veterinarian or listening to another veterinarian. You've gone through the same things we've gone through. You went through vet school, you've gone through getting peed on, and and only people like us understand that. So thank you for bringing, your unique perspective. You're a veterinarian and you've been studying this. You're writing a book for us.
It's just taking what we've been talking about here with money and applying it everywhere. So we have those limiting beliefs around money. We also have them everywhere else in our life, right? We have them around our health. We have them around our relationships. We have them around, what type of father am I, right? I've got voices in my head saying different things to me. And it's like, we get to choose. You get to choose, right? So that is really the thing that I want to talk about is just get intentional about it. Forget what everyone else has told you. Forget what you heard, right? You can pick and you can take it whatever direction you want.
Yeah. You're the one that lives your life. You get to make decisions, and that there are people there that can help you with that decision if you need a little courage as well. Now, I have noticed when you were talking throughout this, you mentioned cats a lot. So one of the questions you ask on your podcast is, are you a cat person or a dog person? So I have a guess, but which one are you? You get a bonus question.
Oh, it's cat. I love cat. Like I am fascinated by cats. Like it's been a weird quirk of mine since I was a little kid.
Love it. How many cats do you have?
Okay. Now this is hypocrite, Mike. I currently have 0 cats. Yes, okay. I know. And it was, I had a cat, loved him a lot. And he had a complex medical issue. This is a few years ago. So I'm over it now, but it is really hard, obviously, as we all know, to lose a close pet. So someday there will be a cat in the house once still older and we're ready for it. Too much chaos currently.
Yes. Oh, completely understand that. All right. So the first official question of the final 4 is, what is something people get wrong about you?
Oh, that I'm an extrovert for sure. I'm 100% an introvert. I just play an extrovert very well. And I do enjoy it. Like I love social situations, but I have to sneak away and then go be alone after to recharge.
That it was interesting because when I talked to Jonathan, I would have switched. I would have probably called you the extrovert and Jonathan the introvert, but it's the opposite. So I think that is really interesting. I'm right? Jonathan's the extrovert.
we joke about if the Veterinary Project ever has a booth at a conference somewhere, like Jonathan will be the Energizer bunny that just like by the last day he'll have more energy. I'll be laying in the corner, curled up, being like, No more people. No more. I need time to recover.
Oh, well, that's exciting. I hope you do have a booth one day. But yes, hopefully Jonathan will let you go break and go get the drinks or something. Yeah. So very cool. Number 2 is, what is a hidden skill or interest that you have?
I'm going to say it was what came to my mind. So I'm going to say it is listening. Like I really, and it's since we started the podcast, I've kind of uncovered it as I really enjoy listening to others. You know, I've done some different things on like, what kind of communicator are you? And I am definitely the one that, contrary to this situation, when you're the guest on the podcast, you talk a lot. But in a conversation with me one-on-one, typically I will listen way more than I'll talk. And I just love like hearing what people are saying and trying to like tie it all together and like deeply understand it. So that is turning out to be a hidden skill.
That is a very good quality, especially in a podcast host, but in general, because I think that is when we start to go back to that curiosity piece. It's stopping and actually listening, right? Mm-hmm. So very good. Yeah. What is something on your bucket list?
So as part of that one sheet that I mentioned earlier, funny enough, you have to put in 5 bucket list items. And I'm sad to say I haven't knocked number 1 off, and it's been on there for a while, but is to see lava flowing in person. Obviously from a distance, but like to be there and see an active volcano lava flow would be phenomenal. I've mentioned on our podcast, I'm just putting it out again in case anyone can help me with it, is to touch a living tiger. Now I realize that it will probably be sedated, but I love cats so much. Tigers are my favorite animal. So someday I would like to just sort of tag along a veterinarian that's doing tiger related work.
Well, I might be able to help you. I've touched a tiger, and funny enough, when you were telling your pee story, I have a very unique pee story too. Now that one was a lion, not a tiger, but I have encountered some interesting animals, so maybe I can help you on that one. So thank you for voicing it. Awesome. We'll see. And finally, what is something you are most grateful for?
Well, given the current situation, I would have to say our newborn Ethan. Obviously, I'm grateful for both of our kids, but with Ethan being so new to the world, I'm grateful to have a son. Just sort of the miracle of, a child. Like a lot of things have to go well for a little human to be born. And so I'm very grateful that we are now a family of 4.
This has been the Vet Life Reimagined podcast. Whether you are listening or watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please make sure you are subscribed to catch all these amazing people in our profession. Also, send this episode to someone you think who would appreciate it. Have a recommendation for someone who would be a good guest? Please reach out on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. There aren't that many Dr. Sprinkles. Until next time, Vet Lifers.